to Media Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back to talk about The White Lotus on HBO Max. We're in the third season, episode 6. It's called Denials, and there's only 2 episodes left in the season. I'm going to open up the questions here and ask, who does everybody think ends up being the shooter that we saw back in the premiere? Who is the body floating in the water? I think they're doing a great job of holding back a lot of details and really not allowing us to have a lot of context clues to figure out who it is, which makes me think it will be a shock. Every single episode, Chelsea has referenced either death or, in this particular episode, bad things happen in threes. I've been saying it would be far too obvious for Chelsea to be involved in some way, shape, or form. But, I mean, are the clues right in front of our face? If we're looking at some of the more obvious plays here, then Guy Talk, our guy who can't seem to keep track of a gun and luckily just got it back in the nick of time before anyone discovered it was missing. If it ends up being Guy Talk involvement, I don't know. I'm going to be pretty disappointed. I'm hoping it's something completely different because he looks like a complete idiot, a darn fool who does not know how to do his job. And if him being bad at his job ends up causing this in some way, it's going to fall flat for me. So I have faith that Mike White has something bigger and better in store for us. What do you guys think? I know that, again, there are not a lot of clues, but drop your suspicions down in the comments. I'm curious to know what everybody thinks. Before we get more into this reaction and review, please go ahead, like this video, and hit that subscribe button, especially if you enjoy videos like this where I talk about TV shows. I recently covered the first 2 episodes of Happy Face on Paramount Plus. I'm not sure if I'm going to come back for more. It didn't wow me or sweep me off my feet, so to be determined. Recently just finished Severance on Apple TV Plus, and Your Friends and Neighbors is a new drama starring Jon Hamm that is coming to Apple TV Plus in April. I'm going to be covering that, probably The Handmaid's Tale, perhaps You on Netflix. Looking ahead to summer, The Summer I Turned Pretty is coming back for its final season, so I might get into that as well. If there are any other shows that you're watching or on your radar that you'd like me to talk about, definitely drop a comment and let me know. Oh, and I haven't been covering The Pit weekly, which is another Max show. It has blown me out of the water, so I will probably be here with a finale reaction and review once we get to episode 15. But today we're here to talk about White Lotus. Again, this is episode 6, Denials. Only 2 episodes left. Something I loved about this one, and really the music of the entire season so far, the Thai pop bangers. I love this music, and I'm excited to see what other songs we get in these final 2 episodes. Is anyone else loving the music as much as I am? I don't know. There's something about it. It's not a normal genre that I listen to, but I am so here for all of these songs. Let's start with the Ratliff family. And I've got to say, just overall, I think they've been my favorite storyline and focus this season so far. I do like Rick and Chelsea. The friend group did start higher on my list because of the relatability. I mean, literally, they revealed Jacqueline's age in this episode is 45. I am a 45-year-old woman, so yes, I do relate. And I related to the political issues and struggles that Jacqueline and Lori were dealing with in terms of their friend Kate and her political beliefs. So there's a lot of relatability there, but for me, the Ratliffs just take the cake. And this episode was very Tim-centric. I think one of the most impactful scenes for me was actually Tim at the monastery talking to the Buddhist monk. Something about the simplicity in which he approached it and then the answer that he received, I think is definitely going to play a role in how he does end up concluding this season. And they're making us believe that, I mean, we see these imaginings of him killing himself, taking out Victoria because she reveals that she wouldn't have the will to live if they were poor. So do we think that's actually going to happen? Or is Tim going to come full circle and say, you know what, I need to own up to this, take accountability? Or I don't know, maybe the entire Ratliff family ends up staying in Thailand so they don't have to go back and face that shame. Maybe Tim will turn to Buddhism as well. I do think that's pretty unlikely, but the real crux of the Ratliff family, you guys, I cannot get over Lochy and Saxon. Are you kidding me? I mean, that kiss was enough for me. Again, incest, just yuck, yuck, yuck. Someone had dropped into my comments and said there's, I believe, somebody on Bravo or one of the Bravo shows where these two sisters go and hook up with dudes. I don't know, something about hooking up with anybody with a family member just gives all the yuck for me. And at first I'm thinking, okay, so maybe they just made out and maybe, Saxon is laying there in the bed while Lochy is hooking up with Chloe and like watching and pleasuring himself. But when we got the reveal that there was actually more to it and Lachlan was like looking at and touching his brother and actually the one who was handling him there, I almost vomited in my mouth. I'm not sure exactly what Mike White is getting at here, but I don't know. Incest just makes me uncomfortable as a whole. And what I appreciated about it, though, was the reaction the next day of Saxon. Every single facial expression that he made, the way that he was walking, the gait, the horror, him vomiting in the toilet as he's recollecting this, and then going to the pool and getting the confirmation from Chloe, and then the way Chelsea is kind of mouth open agape, and they're asking, like, Saxon says, oh, that was just a joke, and she's like, what part of that was a joke? And the fact that they reveal that they did in fact have a threesome. Patrick Schwarzenegger is really crushing it in this role. He plays such a detestable and unlikable character, and the way the tables have turned, making him more the victim when he's been the aggressor and seemingly a bully to his brother, and his brother kind of taking the power or reins, which is such a disgusting analogy as I say it out loud. There was a big turning of tables here, and how is this going to impact the family moving forward? I didn't think Lachlan was going to remember, and then Locker and Pipeline, as Tim mistakenly refers to his two kids as, end up staying at the monastery and having this meditation session, and it starts flashing back to Lachlan, and I think he's equally as horrified as his brother is. How is that next interaction gonna go when he gets back to the villa and talks to Saxon again? I mean, Saxon can barely make eye contact with him. The fact that he was wearing Lochy's swim trunks, just everything about this storyline is just so disgusting. And are they setting the table for there has been some sort of past abuse on the table in some way with the children, whether, amongst siblings, whether with parents or a family member? I'm not sure. Maybe it just all goes to the dysfunction of the family as a whole, with the dynamics between the siblings, with the issues that Tim is having at work, all the pressure on him. Also from his wife, Victoria. I mean, the fact that she says she wouldn't have the will to live if they were poor at her age. First of all, Parker Posey, as I've been saying, is just slaying this entire season. She is playing Victoria Ratliff to a T. And I think she's given my favorite performance of the season. I really actually do like Carrie Coon's character quite a bit, and I do like Jason Isaacs, and obviously love Walton Goggins, but something about the way Victoria Ratliff is playing this just detestable character who is previously in the lorazepam haze and now has moved on to the drinking because obviously her husband stole her lorazepam. And the fact that she doesn't catch on that there's something bigger going on with her husband of many years. And then she says, oh, it's going to be okay. We'll get Piper to come back. She's more worried about her daughter going to live in a monastery than the very clear bad mindset and place that Tim is in. So what is going to happen with the Ratliffs? I think for me, that's my biggest burning question. And will there be involvement with their family in the shootout or the shooting? Tim does not have the gun anymore. Guy Talk was successfully able to come in and take it. We also learned Guy Talk will be going on a date with Mook. He was going to the gun range, and the other security guard says something like, are you this guy that can actually do difficult things? And I do think that is some sort of foreshadowing that Guy Talk will be put into a position where he's going to have to take action and potentially shoot somebody. When the robbery happened and the people just kind of went through the gates, I don't know. I mean, Guy Talk seems like a pretty mellow person. He does not seem like he has that it factor to do the hard thing. So, will we see a complete turnaround with him? Is he going to step up into this role and either be some kind of hero or, I don't know, end up taking a bullet for the cause as he's trying to fight and do the right thing in his position just for the sake of either doing the right thing or impressing Mook? I'm not sure, and I'm hoping it's something that we are really not expecting because, again, it does seem just a little bit too obvious for Guy Talk to be the central figure with the shooting. And speaking of the shooting, in that first episode, we had Zion, Belinda's son, who discovers that body in the lagoon. We still don't know who the body is, but we finally got to see Zion actually arrive and talk to his mom, Belinda, in this episode. He actually catches her after she had a night of getting some with her coworker, Porn Chai, who, by the way, did it seem fast that he's already talking about they should be opening up their own spa together after just spending one night? And the way that that must trigger Belinda in a way because of what did happen with Tanya, and Tanya saying that she would invest in Belinda's business. And then Belinda also dealing with the fact Gary invites her to dinner over at their house. This dinner party is going to have some revelations, I think. Gary knows that Chloe slept with one of the brothers or both of the brothers, really. So that dynamic will be very interesting. And I also just don't know why Gary actually cares. I think it's just a power trip. I don't think he really cares about Chloe in the same fashion that we see Chelsea out there saying her and Rick are soulmates. And I don't get the soulmate vibe. I see a one-way soulmate street there. I do not see Rick driving the car the other way, believing that he is Chelsea's soulmate or that they're soulmates. Is there more to their relationship that we're not seeing that potentially we will get? And maybe that will come out at the dinner party. I'm not sure. But I love Chelsea's character. I think she is just phenomenal. She is so sweet. She is always referencing the fact that bad things are just essentially like one step away. Bad things happen in threes. Is she going to be a victim? Is she going to be involved in this? Or will she end up just being able to go home again and, nothing to see here? I mean, a lot of that also depends on what's going on with Rick in Bangkok. We saw Sam Rockwell again. He and Frank are going to go to Jim Hollinger's house under the guise, of course, of Sam Rockwell's character Frank being a director. Seems like they're going to try to distract Sitala so that way Rick can get some FaceTime with Jim Hollinger. I am still camp. Jim Hollinger is going to be Rick's dad. I don't believe it's a person who killed Rick's dad. I think he just never came back from Thailand and, maybe got himself involved in some unsavory things. So I'm curious to see what that face-off looks like. And I also think it's funny that the day after Rick and Frank had this kind of crazy conversation, which again, Walton Goggins' reaction that entire time, pure TV gold. And the way Rick kind of shakes it off like, oh yeah, that was weird. That was a night or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I would expect a little bit more of a reaction to all of that information from that very strong monologue, which I'm still thinking about. And just, wow, what a look into somebody's mind that we don't always get to see or have revealed by characters. Talk about the inner workings, right? Who came up with that? I think it was really interesting and smart for Mike White to bring in Sam Rockwell's character and have that monologue, which, none of us were expecting. So curious to see how this goes and how that trick of him being a director will play into the interaction with Rick and Jim Hollinger. Is it possible that Rick is going to end up dying somehow? Will he stumble upon something he's not supposed to? And then Jim Hollinger's not going to want this man getting away. And perhaps Rick dies and doesn't even make it back to the White Lotus resort. And instead of Chelsea being the one who's going to be impacted, it's actually Rick. And if that's the case, something that I would actually like to see is for Chelsea's story to continue into another season. I can't imagine they are going to have Gary/Greg threaded through a fourth season, given his involvement already. I think they're going to have to shift. And if there will be a common character thread in the next season, please let it be Chelsea. I want more of her. Let's talk about the fractured friend group. We knew something was going to happen. I mean, I could read the writing on the wall. It seemed like no matter who Jacqueline was pushing Valentine on, Lori in this case, that she was always going to be the one to get the guy. She was obviously feeling ignored by her boy toy there, who ends up calling her super horny for her after she, of course, I think she slept with Valentine. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? It sure seems like she got some action, and I think she was completely acting and trying to save face. So Lori didn't think that she did hook up with him, but I think Jacqueline wanted them to see this so she can still end up on top. I mean, it's kind of a power play. And you know what? Lori's not wrong. She is an aging actress, and it seems like she will take any attention she can get. She thrives on it, and that's what I've been saying. So it actually was not a shock to me that she did end up sleeping with Valentine. And yeah, I can see why Lori was upset. Her friend was pushing her on him, and it seems like this is a pattern that has happened since they were much younger. I loved seeing Lori fly off the handle. And do we think that Kate knew this reaction would happen, or do we think that she just kind of thought Lori would shrug it off and think it was funny? I kind of think Kate has been pushing buttons this entire time, and maybe she wanted that because she's feeling bitter that, her friends were talking about her and giving her crap regarding her political affiliation. So women are gonna women. I mean, hey, I'm a woman, things happen. Like this gossip, these sort of strained friendships, relationships, especially over a man. And if this is something that's been going on in their friend group for years, then it was bound to happen. What I thought was the funniest of all, though, besides just Carrie Coon going off the rails and talking all the smack about it, was the fact that her and Kate were talking about it with Jacqueline sitting right there. And then she comes up from under her hat and she's like, "Oh, what are you guys talking about?" I thought that was really funny, the way that scene unfolded. So I appreciated that. There was definitely some comedy there. And then when they're eating breakfast, Valentine comes over and Lori's kind of just ignoring him and this and that. And I mean, she didn't have the right to, nobody claimed him, if you will. But again, if I was Lori, I'd be pretty upset too. She's actually single. Meanwhile, Jacqueline's out there taking the guy that she wanted her friend to hook up with. Well, she actually has somebody at home who I think's phone was most definitely not dead, and he's probably out there getting whatever he can, especially with her out of town. So I do think that middle-aged actress thing is definitely having a big impact on Jacqueline, not as much on the other women. I don't think Lori cared that Valentine didn't choose her. I think she was just upset at the way it all panned out in terms of Jacqueline having set the table for Valentine and Lori and then taking him all for herself. But I will say this storyline has felt a little bit more one-dimensional to me. Yeah, it was cool. They were out partying with the Russians, but I just think that given the depth and craziness of what's happening with the Ratliff family, that there's just not as much impact with the storyline anymore. And it's fine. These actresses are fantastic, but I don't know. It's just a touch one-dimensional for me. So I am curious if something else will arise after this, perhaps, that will elevate their storyline just a little bit more. So overall, I mean, this episode was good. The season as a whole is entertaining, and we are learning more about the characters, but also, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm hard to please, but I guess I would just like a little bit more context clues about what ultimately will happen this season. So again, the fact that we're not getting them could mean it will be something that none of us are expecting, but I hope it makes enough of an impact to make all of this worthwhile. I am most curious to see what shakes out with the Ratliffs and really what happens with Rick and Chelsea. The staff storyline here, I mean, it's okay. Do I care that Fabian's going to be singing? I mean, I guess. I don't know. Perhaps something will go down in this next episode, because we're going to have a lot of the characters over at Gary/Greg's house. What is going to happen there? Will it be revealed that he's maybe even more tied into one of these character groups than we know? I mean, is it possible that somehow Tim Ratliff could be tied into him? Probably not, because we have quite a bit of background on obviously what Greg did to Tanya, and now he's changed his identity living here with Chloe, who he really doesn't seem to be that into. So I don't know, could Chloe end up being a victim of it all somehow? Maybe Gary gets jealous that she did sleep with one of the brothers. I'm not sure, but I would love if you would drop in the comments your thoughts just on the season as a whole so far, your favorite characters. Are you team Parker Posey like I am? I mean, I could just watch her as Victoria Ratliff all day, and she is a detestable character, but for the actors who can play those type of roles and make you so endeared to a terrible person on the screen, props to Parker Posey, and really Jason Isaacs as well. I think the casting for that TV married couple could not be more perfect, and same with their children. Moving into the next episode, I am really interested to see the further fallout, especially when we get Saxon and Lochy back on the screen together. And will Piper end up staying in the monastery? Victoria seems pretty convinced that once she spends a night there, that she will not, in fact, want to stay there for an entire year. But the authenticity and the way in which Piper had that conversation with the monk, I mean, it felt so authentic to me. But the way Piper had that conversation, and we finally got to see more of her. She was giving entitled rich girl, kind of spoiled, and has all these opportunities. Hey, I'll just go, live in a Buddhist monastery. Cool, without really actually knowing what it was. And like Victoria said, your sister has no thesis. But I do wonder, will this actually be a fit for her, or is it just one of these type of hobbies that a wealthy person picks up thinking they'll want to do it, and they just kind of discard it once they realize it's not for them? But just the way and the emotion that she had, and the visceral nature of her wanting her parents to support her and buy into this so she could stay, that was a really big moment for me in this episode as well. I mean, between her and her dad and having these conversations, I kind of wish Victoria maybe had even gone in with Piper, but I do think she would have been very distracting to the actual simplicity and the way that both Piper and Tim were kind of able to have this authentic character moment. So really excited to see what transpires with the Ratliffs in the next episode. How is this party at Gary's house going to go? Will this shooting play out in the next episode and then we'll see the ramifications in the finale, or will we get all of the resolve in the finale? Drop your comments, let me know what you think, and again, please like this video, hit that subscribe button. I will be back with more TV talk, and stick with me for the rest of the season of The White Lotus. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll be back again soon. Media Melanie, clicking off.